Hi, everyone. My name is John Robinson, and I am a prevention specialist with Child and Family Focus's Prevention Education Program, also known as PEP for short. Today, the PEP team and I are happy to host and present the first portion of my conversation with Julie Smith, the founder and director of the David's New Day organization, which is an organization that describes their mission as to spread awareness and hope in the face of addiction. David's New Day also helps connect people with other resources around addiction in the community as well. This will be the first in a series of clips from our full conversation with Julie that CFF's PEP team will be sharing, and it will kick off the first in a series of conversations and interviews with a variety of individuals that we will be releasing on a regular basis. I should note that it took a lot of time, hard work, and effort to bring this project to fruition and get it greenlit. So we're very excited to present this new project in the series to the public, and I would love to thank my colleagues for all their support and help, as well as our funders and supporters at the Delaware County Department of Human Services for helping to make this happen, specifically and especially the Division of Drug and Alcohol Services. However, it should be noted that due to this time and effort that it took to make this vision of this project a reality, some of the conversation, or actually the entirety of the conversation you're about to watch, occurred towards the beginning of fall 2023. So I encourage you to go to David's New Day's website, which I will provide a link for in the description. And I'll have more information on that later on. But I don't want to waste any more time. And without further ado, I want to jump into my conversation with Julie. So I am happy to present to you my conversation with Julie Smith. Forward to this computer. There we go. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us, whether you are listening in or whether you are watching. I'm here with Julie Smith from David's New Day. Julie, how are you doing today?
I'm good, John. Thanks.
All right. So just to kind of get things started, could you tell me a little bit about, um, your organization and what it does and what kind of functions it serves?
Absolutely. And first and foremost, thank you for having me on. This is the first time I'm ever doing a podcast.
Oh,
So,
really? You could have fooled
yes,
me. You could have
yes,
fooled me from our previous conversation.
yes. So, this is exciting.
Mhm.
So, as you said, I'm Julie Smith. I am, in the simplest terms, just somebody who lost her brother to an
Mhm.
overdose, and somebody that loves her brother and wanted him to be remembered for who he was and do something special in his name. So my family and I started a nonprofit called David's New Day.
Mhm.
He passed in March of 2013. And so we started it almost a year later, we launched
Mhm.
it. Um, and what we do is we subsidize the cost of treatment and services for those who need it but can't afford it.
Sure. Could you? I noticed you have a patch on your shirt. Would you mind
Oh,
showing that to
yes.
people? The
So this
logo.
is our
Yeah.
yes, so this is our logo.
Mhm.
It's the sun with David's picture here, kind of as the A.
Right.
Has the sun Russ. So it's actually truly him.
Mhm.
So I'm fortunate that my best friend is also a graphic artist.
Yeah.
So she is on our board. And when we started this, immediately she said, I'm all in. She knew my brother. She said, whatever you need help with. So I said, okay, like never done anything like this before. So I need
Mhm.
to pull a ton of resources. So she came up with this really genius logo. So this him and his son Russ on the beach, and it was kind of just them walking towards the ocean. So it's their
Wow.
their back, and that's the A, and
Mhm.
then it's the sun.
Yeah. And the sun fits kind of with the beach theme of them walking towards the ocean. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And you know, when we were thinking about logos, my husband, I love him to death, and he helps me a ton. I could never do
Mhm.
this if I didn't have such a supportive family system. But he was, kind of drawing out logos and trying to figure out, how do we make a picture that's going to be
Mhm.
memorable and really tied to what we're trying to do. And we both failed miserably at everything that we drew. But the idea came from he had a conversation with my brother shortly before he passed.
Mhm.
David came over with his son Russ. We went to Chuck E. Cheese. We spent the day together, and we had to take two separate cars because I had my two kids and he had his son. And so anyway, David drove with my husband, and he was talking about how upset he was over the things he had done. He was in recovery at that point, thankfully.
Mhm.
But he just said, I wake up depressed and I feel remorseful and I feel like I'm never going to get to a place where I can forgive myself.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
my husband said to him, probably one of the wisest things I've ever heard was, try not to think about the past. Like, are you having a good day today? And he said, I am. And he said, okay, let's think about having a good day today and a good day
Right.
tomorrow. And before you know it, those days will build off each other and you'll be having the life that you deserve.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were thinking about a name for the organization, we thought New Day, and
Oh, wow. That makes a lot of sense.
yes. So, and then ultimately, the goal through our organization is to help individuals find that hope and find, get to that new day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's an excellent, and it also kind of goes in line with certain recovery principles and mottos, like the whole one day at a time thing.
Yeah.
But it kind of puts a spin on that, like you were talking about, where it really makes it not just present, but it talks about like sort of I don't know if I want to say redemption arc, but it's very similar to that aspect. The idea of just making sure that people aren't focusing on their mistakes that they've done and beating themselves up. I think that's excellent.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about, because I did a read through of David's story before our last conversation. We were kind of like speaking to each other about doing this. But one of the things I didn't pick up, and I would like you to talk a little bit more about David, but one of the things I didn't pick up on the first time I read through it was you you must have written that very recently after his passing.
Yes.
Okay. I did not pick up on that in the first read through. Yeah.
Yes. So, nobody plans for this type of
Hmm.
casting. And in retrospect, in a sense, had we planned for it, we probably would have attacked his addiction like the house was on fire, right?
Hmm.
But you know, we didn't know then. We didn't know that it was imminent or anything like that. So we
Hmm.
kind of looked at it as, oh, this is something he'll move beyond. But so since not planning for this and it came up so suddenly, my parents naturally were inconsolable. So they said,
Of course.
we can't do anything. And so I thought, okay, I got to step in here and do as much as I can.
Hmm.
And I said, I want to do the eulogy. So by some miracle, and you don't sleep a lot after something tragic like that happens, but by some miracle, I had a BlackBerry at the time. Do you remember BlackBerries?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do.
And I love my
For
BlackBerry.
a hot second.
Yes, I had a BlackBerry at the time, and I wrote the eulogy in bed at like 3 in the morning on my BlackBerry as an email to myself. And
Wow.
um, it was kind of just a lucid, kind of like a fluid thought process that I had. And
It's amazing what kind of thoughts come to people at 3 a.m. Like,
yes,
it's a very interesting brain state to be in, especially
it
with grief.
exactly, and or anything. Like I feel like
Yeah.
I read where people have their best ideas in the middle of the night,
Hmm.
and that truly was what happened. Because I think if it would have been one of those things that I sat down and thought, oh God, I got to prepare for this, and number one, you can never prepare for anything.
Sure.
You can never prepare for grief, but if somebody
Right.
told me this was going to happen and you're going to be responsible to give this eulogy and you want to pay respect to your brother in the best way you can and you'd want it perfect, because I did, I don't think I could have ever done it better than I had at 3 in the morning.
Right.
So
Yeah. So when you were writing the eulogy, um, did that translate onto what is on the website, or is that like an altered version of the eulogy you gave, or did that kind of go into the obituary?
yeah, no,
Um,
that was the exact eulogy.
oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so I thought, because it told his story in a way.
Hmm.
I think that it really showed who he was, in his childhood, um, you know, the life that he was leading in his adulthood, and really the love that we had for him.
Right. Yeah. So what would you like people to know about David?
He he was a good person. He
Hmm.
was a really good person. And it's now that I've been so involved and immersed in the recovery community and
Mm-hmm.
helping people, most everybody is, you know, and
Mm-hmm. Right.
it's usually the people that are maybe more sensitive, more aware of the world, you know, and
Yeah.
more in tune.
I found that too a lot of times, like like the sensitivity and almost like this numbing of the sensitivity. I don't know if you found that as well.
Yes, like almost just a different kindness to those individuals.
Hmm.
And I don't know if it's like what came first, the chicken or the egg kind of thing.
Right.
They were born, more sensitive and more aware, or, the troubles that they had throughout their life, um, kind of made them a little bit more empathetic to other individuals'
Mhm.
needs. But he was a really kind person, despite everything he had gone through. Growing up, he went to Assumption BVM grade school with my older brother and I, and then Archbishop Wood High School. He came from a loving family. My parents, did everything possible, and, tried to do everything right, like parents try to do. He was, I don't think they do this anymore, but in grade school, he was voted most popular. You know how they have the smartest and
Superlatives, all that kind of stuff.
yes,
Yeah.
I don't think we do that anymore,
Do
but
they still do it in high school? I know they did it when I was in high school. I don't know if they
they do. I think it's,
okay.
yeah, I think it's kind of frowned upon. And
I can see why, I guess.
yeah, I mean, I think that they highlight, awards that people
Sure.
win or earn, academic and athletic, but I don't think they do that anymore. But
Hmm.
so, saying that to say that he had a ton of friends, he had a great personality, he was happy. My mom said that he was the happiest child, more so than my older brother and
Hmm.
I. That our neighbor down the street would just pick him up to take him shopping, to Toys R Us
Hmm.
or to the food store with her when he was a child, because she loved, her kids were older, and she just loved being with him. So that was kind of the kid that he was. And growing
Right.
up, I had a tight knit, I still do, circle of friends, that I grew up with. And my one friend, Mara, would always say, I'm going to marry him. I would get so jealous
Hmm.
that she would come to, my house to hang with him. But,
Right.
her, under
Yeah,
the
instead of spending time with you. Like it's like what like what the heck?
hang with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, she would spend all her time with him. And because he was fun and happy.
Hmm.
Um, And so after high school, he started classes at Bucks Community College, but that just was not something for him. That wasn't the path he wanted
Hmm.
to take. So he was really handy and really talented in the trade. So he,
Okay.
for construction companies, and did a lot of work at my parents' house, always fixing things, put in hardwood floors for them, help with their kitchen renovation, like things that, he really enjoyed doing. And my brother would always do so much for my parents because I felt like he would always say, like, I got to pay you guys back for all the trouble I put you through. So he was always trying to find ways to, it's a
What
shame.
is when you say brother, you talking about David? Or are
David.
you talking about okay?
Yeah,
When
yeah.
he says
Sorry. So I have an older
trouble,
brother, Rob. So
yeah.
sorry. Yeah, this is David. So he was, very involved in helping my parents, and
Hmm.
handy with his, in construction and things like that. So he
Sure.
would always feel like he had to give back to them. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, because he said trouble that you put. Did he just mean like the fact that they had to raise him, or like yeah?
No, just, the trouble that he got in. So,
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah. So he always felt like, oh God, I gave you guys, a heart attack, and
That's
and
right. He
kept,
was an energetic kid.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's like, and he was always, just in high school getting in trouble,
Hmm.
you know, some benign stuff,
Hmm. Sure.
but then
Like high school stuff.
yes, high school stuff. But then, as high school progressed is when he started getting into things. And I think it started with, as so many people's stories did, uh,
Hmm.
pills and his friends taking pills. And then, unfortunately, that moved over to heroin. which was
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, what took his life. But, he had many years of recovery.
Mm-hmm.
He met his fiancee, Steph, who he had started dating when they were young in high school.
Mm-hmm.
He was with her for, God, probably 12 years.
Right.
Um, and, you know, would unfortunately relapse and,
Mm-hmm.
then try to recover again and relapse. And it's a process. And,
Right.
you know, and there's many starts and stops and tries and failures throughout the road, on the road that you take. But so it was challenging, but nobody, we never lost hope, and imagined that um, we never imagined that this would have been something that would have taken him. Um,
Mm-hmm.
he, you know, was living in a duplex with his fiancee Steph. He had Russ. Russ was 3 at the time, and he
Mm-hmm.
adored Russ. Like, when I
Right.
say he couldn't get enough of him.
Mm-hmm.
I think I wrote about the fact that, when he was a baby and he was like approaching like 10 months or something, like
Mm-hmm.
David wouldn't put him down. Like, he would just carry him. And so we would all say, like, he's not going to learn to walk. Like, you need to put him on the ground,
Right.
to be able to crawl and walk and go through the normal, transitions that babies and toddlers do. But he was just his sidekick, he just loved spending time with him. And, Russ is an amazing kid. He just started high school. He just started ninth
Mm-hmm.
grade in Tammany. And, we were lucky enough, my husband and I, and, my kids are very close to him, to have helped, in David's absence, to stay close to him and give him all the love that David would have gave him.
Yeah. Just one second. I am going to pause the recording for one. Thank you so much for watching, and once again, if you enjoyed this, please give some positive feedback by liking the video, or if you have any thoughts on our conversation, please leave a comment below. And thanks so much to Julie once again for being such an engaging and open guest. We really, really appreciate having her, and for her being so open and vulnerable, and just honestly informative as well, just really sharing in a way that was very thought-provoking. If you want to stay up to date on future videos related to my conversation with Julie, the full conversation that is, we are going to have other portions coming up, because we've had, this is part one. There's going to be a part 2, and as well as maybe probably a couple of other parts as well coming up. But yeah, if you want to stay up to date on that and other future conversations that I'm going to be having with some interesting and amazing individuals like Julie around subject matter related to prevention education, which is largely based in substance use, but also things like mental health, maybe even getting into some other topics as well. That are related to just, prevention education. You can go ahead and hit the subscribe button to stay updated on everything we're doing. And I've also provided some helpful and relevant links in the description, like I said earlier, about Julie's organization, David's New Day, and their upcoming 5K, as well as some helpful links regarding PEP, Child and Family Focus, the Delaware County Department of Human Services, and this series in general. Thanks again so much, and we look forward to seeing you next time.